Hello and welcome to the Marlborough Book Festival podcast, the place where you can hear writers talk about their work, their lives, and the inspiration behind their writing. I'm Claudia, the treasurer for the committee, and today I'm delighted to be introducing the wonderful Mike White, speaking about his book, How to Walk a Dog. Mike discusses his delightful, funny and moving book, How to Walk a Dog. He talks about his dog Cooper, the remarkable people and dogs he's met while walking him, and life at Wellington Dog Park. The conversation was recorded at the 2021 Marlborough Book Festival, an annual weekend of wonderful writers and curious audiences. The festival is aimed at anyone who loves great writers and writing. If you haven't read the book before the session, you'll definitely want to afterwards. For now, please enjoy Mike White speaking to Tessa Nicholson.
There'll be time for questions at the end of the session with Mike, and a copy of the book on How to Walk a Dog is available in the foyer, and Mike will be available at the end to sign it. I hope all of you have at least partaken of a glass of Lawson's Dry Hill wines and that you're enjoying it. I'd like to thank them very much because they are the sponsor of this session. So, kia ora Mike, and welcome home.
Oh, it does feel like that, Tess. I love coming back every year to the book fest. It's a real treat because I grew up in Marlborough and then went like everyone. They go away from their hometown at 17, saying, "Oh, I'm never going back there again." And of course, about 10 years later, ended up back here working at the Marlborough Express and loved it and spent quite a few years here. But it's always home. It still feels like home.
The really interesting thing is he was my boss for a number of years, so this is really nice for me to be sitting on this side, as Mike just said.
Tess, you're the best reporter. I think it's more of a partnership,
That's not what you used to say. But before we actually get started, I just thought I'd like to get a show of hands. So how many of you in the audience currently own or have owned a dog? Could you put your hand up? Oh, actually, it would be much easier if I said how many of you in the audience don't currently own a dog or have.
How many cat people are there in the audience? Yeah, okay.
There's two people up there, though, that have never owned once you read this book, you'll be at the SPCA or on Trade Me and you will be having a dog very, very shortly. I probably kind of rephrased that wrongly, didn't I? Because I sort of said, how many of you have or do own a dog? But do we own dogs or do dogs own us?
No. I'll speak for myself. All the theories in the world, all the training I've been through, 3 dogs sort of where I've been theoretically in charge of them. But, you start off with great intentions and, boy, they get eroded and whittled away pretty quickly. And maybe I'm just useless at training dogs, but the dogs always end up calling the shots pretty much. We used to have in our house, we got a little house in Wellington, and we set very firm rules with our dog, the dog that's in this book, Cooper, our current dog. Very firm rules. He was only allowed in the front of the house, and there was this dividing line, and there was this kind of draft strip there, and he wasn't allowed to go past that. So what happens, of course, starts with the front 2 paws going over, and then the back ones are kind of right up here, and he's stretching in. And I went away for a few months to England, and when I came back, the dog was in the bedroom. He's in the...
Well, I'm actually quite surprised, because if somebody had sat us down, say 10 years ago, you and I, and said, one of you in a decade is going to write a book about dogs. The fact that I've had 7 guide pups to train and a police puppy and I've had dogs all my life, I think everybody would have said, no, Tessa, it'll be you, not Mike.
I think the book's waiting to be written, Tess. Honestly, you should. What's not to love about dogs? What's not to love about guide dogs? Training guide dogs, what you've done is amazing.
And I sort of agree with that the dogs take over. I mean, Ross was never a dog person ever. Not an animal person, and we've had, I think, 15 puppies in the last decade and a half.
It's amazing how dogs do that. And there's 2 people in the audience here, my partner's parents, who have never had dogs and really no experience with them, and our dog has completely won them over as well, and that's where our dog goes to stay most of the time. So a good dog, oh boy, you've got to be heart of stone not to love a good dog. So.
It's like the fact that they actually worm their way into your heart, and not just from puppies, but they give so much, and they're like, cats do this as well. They always find the person in the room that doesn't like cats, and they tend to climb on your lap and, gnaw away. But dogs do the same thing, don't they? They can sort out, you're not too sure about me, I'm going to prove myself.
Yeah, mind you, dogs gravitate to the person that's most likely to drop crumbs or a bit of sausage off the barbecue, aren't they? They're pretty shrewd like that too. Cats are scheming, but dogs are just, they just know who's the most likely soft touch with the food, I reckon. But yeah, look, I don't know. I did have a cat when I was really young. I had my sisters. I got 3 sisters, and they had a dog, and supposedly somehow the dog was meant to get shared around them. And then the youngest boy in the family, he got given a cat, as kind of a sop. And the cat was okay, but, dogs, as soon as I got my first dog, it was pretty clear which side of the fence I was on.
Yeah, you don't talk that kindly of Josie the cat. Did you think you got the short end of the stick?
No, well, I don't know. Josie was fine. I just maybe it was an age thing. But dogs, I just had an immediate connection. And the first dog that I had that I really, that was what I'd say my dog, I was living here in Blenheim. At that stage, there was just my mum and myself, and our other dog had just died, and suddenly the house was really empty. And so we went and got this dog. There was a dog being given away up in Mowat Street in Springlands. And, I just, as a 14, 15-year-old boy, I felt hard for that dog. And, yeah, great dog, Jip. And,
But you'd lost your dad shortly before that as well, so that's why the house was so silent.
Yeah,
was it a replacement? Something else to love?
I don't know. Some smart psychoanalyst or psychologist had probably come up with some theory, but it was. Our family had gone from essentially 5. My father died this summer. My father died. My next sister up left for university. The dog died, and suddenly there's just 2 of us there. And so, yeah, of course the dog was filling a gap in the house, but also a gap in my life. But yeah, fantastic. What a great thing to have a dog as a boy growing up. Love it. Yeah.
Now, this was Cass?
That was Jip. Was Jip.
Now, you took Jip off to training, didn't you?
Yeah.
Down the Taylor tell me about this, Mike.
So this is the dog training, Canine Obedience Club. Some of you have gone through this process, and some of you have probably come out with gold medals. Fantastic, good on you. But then this was in the days where they used to have it down the Taylor Riverbank there, and maybe half a dozen lessons or something like that, and then you had your grading the final day, and at the grading, the top dog got a 20 kilogram bag of Tux. Now in those days, the Tux factory is not here anymore, is it? So there used to be a Tux factory in town where as a boy I worked on packing bloody dog biscuits in. And so I knew the value of a 20 kilogram bag of Tux, and I thought, we're going to win this, because Jip was really smart. And he was top of the class, comes to the graduation day, and there's that exercise where you all line up with your dogs, and dog beside you, and then you, one by one, you walk out 10, 15 paces, the dog stays, you turn around and you call the dog to you, and that's to show how obedient they are. And Jip had done this tons of times. We practiced this till You
were determined to win, weren't you?
We were, bag of Tux, big deal. So, and so I walk out 15 paces, turn around, call Jip. Jip looks at me, looks down the line to where this bitch was that was on heat. No kidding. And he does this, 2 steps out, and then this arc around to where the bitch was. And this 15-year-old boy's heart that thought that I was going to come away as a champion, saw it disappearing as my dog, chose hormones over his owner. And I drove home that day a very sad boy actually, but and Jip was in the dog box literally, yeah.
Can I tell you a story though? When we first got married, we got a German Shepherd, and German Shepherds are very intelligent dogs, and I did that training, and we went for 4 or 5 weeks, and then the lady was training, who said like next week, next Sunday, or next whatever it is graduation day, and I went, I didn't know about this, and she said, no, we'd prefer you didn't bring your dog. And it was the first German Shepherd to ever fail an obedience class. I can remember going round to my sister-in-law's and bursting into tears. It was just the most horrific thing. I was such a failure. So I can really relate to that. There wasn't even Tuck's dog biscuits on offer.
But I mean, what did your dog do wrong?
She was very social. Okay. She was a bit like me, you know. She kind of liked the other dogs more than she liked listening to my voice. She'd had enough of me.
The last time I went and did dog training, some of the this is in Wellington, some of the dogs were absolute lethal. You know, you let them off the leash, they would have chewed a baby. They were terrible things, but they just made all the excuses in the world to pass them. I was kind of amazed. Standards have slipped terribly since the day.
Did you take Cooper to obedience classes?
We did, and he was pretty good, but there was no bag of tucks at the end of it, and he was all right. So he was well ahead of some of the other numpties there. Boy, there were some shockers, as I say, you know, that had no idea of what sit or come meant. But, you know, in the end, the trainers, the obedience people are saying, okay, if you stand, okay, let him come to me, and that was enough. You know, 2 paces. Oh yes, he's passed. Good on you. Yeah.
I'm pleased you don't have children.
Yeah.
you would hate the teaching system. So, how to walk a dog? It's a disparate group of people. In a dog park. How did you find this particular dog park?
Look, absolute random chance. So we got. That's my dog Cooper. He's about coming up 12 now. So we got him as he was about 4 months old as a pup. And this is the first time I've had a dog in a city, and a bit different to, you know, in Marlborough having a dog. And so there was this dog park. I looked on the map, council map, where are the dog parks, and there was a dog park in Brooklyn. I don't know if people know where that is. It's sort of just south of the city. It overlooks the harbour. It's lovely. And so it just worked out with our routine. My partner was working downtown. I would drive there to the dog park in the morning. Nikki, my partner, would get out, walk down to work, and I would walk the dog at the dog park. And it just so happens that my routine, my daily schedule, coincided with a whole lot of other people that had the same kind of schedule. And it just so happened that they were really cool people. They were really wonderful. And this little community, as happens around the country in hundreds of dog parks, happens here in Marlborough, I'm sure, you just meet people and you've got that one thing in common. You own a dog, so that's a great icebreaker, isn't it, for a start? And you know that you've got that similar outlook in some things. And so, I met some amazing people, and that little community formed and has stayed there for the last 10 years plus,
One of the things that you've actually quoted this in the book, one of the things people might not appreciate about dog parks is how much those who go there talk. You know, firstly about their dogs and their breeds, their names, and then you state finally you get around to asking, oh, by the way, what's your name? It's all the dog detail before you actually get to know the human.
That's right, and it's a stupid little protocol. Well, it's not even a protocol, it's just the way it happens, you know. You meet a stranger and you've got something in common. So the icebreaker is, oh, what's your dog's name? Oh, what kind of breed is it? Oh, how old are they? Yeah, oh. Sorry, I'm Mike, you know, it's that kind of thing. And I always think, next time I do this, I'm going to introduce myself first and then the dog, and it never happens. You always kind of dog first.
Because you're looking at the dog before you're looking at the owner.
Yeah. Well, the dog's probably jumped up on you with muddy paws and things.
So for 10 years you've used this park, or more than 10 years actually now, coming up to almost 12. So when did you realise that there was more on the agenda or more available to you than just a park where you could walk Cooper?
As in the friendship group?
The friendships,
Reasonably soon, actually. There was in that first year, there was a stall group of about half a dozen of us who would be there pretty much every morning. You get close. I mean, a lot of you will know what this is like. You take your dog there to exercise. The dogs, all they want is to roar around, sniff each other's bums, you know, pee in the bushes, and so you're left standing there largely unoccupied apart from throwing the odd stick. So you're not going to stand there in silence. So you talk and you meet these people every day and you get to know them pretty well. You know, you see them a lot more than often your family members, and eventually you learn a lot about their lives. You become, intimate details about what's going on. And that happened with this group of people that I found myself every morning with at the dog park. And luckily, as I say, they were fantastic people with hugely interesting lives and backgrounds, and very quickly became really good friends. Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation before like that, where you've bonded with people?
Met one or two other people through dogs in the past, but nothing like this at all. It was a revelation to me that these dog parks, and in Wellington's case, urban dog parks, could be such little focal points where little communities could arise. But I know that it happens all around the country.
Oh, so you don't think that yours is an unusual situation?
No, I don't. I think I've been to other places where I've met and heard about groups of people who gather at certain times of the day. So I honestly, no, I think it's replicated around the country. I don't think there's anything special, except I think the people at our dog park are pretty special. So, yeah.
So do you know people, do you ever go at any other time of the day and meet other people, or is it always morning and the group of...
I do go at other times of the day, never say hello to them, no. Different crowd, it's shocking.
Oh,
no,
you snob.
I mean, it's funny because at other times when I go there's not a group of people standing around. I think this is a popular time of the day. I go there sort of 8:30, so people have probably got their kids off to school, or they've just, the retired ones have just woken up and had their first cup of tea and they've wandered up the hill. It just seems to be a popular time of the day. Yeah.
As I say, it's a disparate group of people. They come from all walks of life. I mean, people, there's Barbara, Jeremy, Jenny, Matthew, just to name a few of them. You've become such a community in the sense that you even celebrate your birthdays and events with morning teas at the dog park.
We do. You're probably going to think I'm really sad. All this guy's got to do is, the only bit of his life is at the dog park. No, I don't know. It's just, so what do you do? After the first year of meeting these people, getting to know them really well, we thought, Christmas is coming up. Let's have just a shared breakfast at the dog park, and it's evolved every year. The dog's breakfast is what we have as a Christmas kind of celebration for people, and it's grown every year, quite a reasonable gathering. And then people's birthdays, we think, let's just bring some coffee and cakes and things to the dog park. And the coffee and cakes have got the scale of the catering has got increasingly better. And so what we've got is this. There's a community garden just by the dog park at one end of the dog park, and I don't know, someone had one of those fold-up tables in the community garden, and they were throwing it out. And I thought, geez, that's really good, that could be useful. So I pinched that from the rubbish pile, I hide it away in the bushes there, and every time we have a dog park breakfast, we would haul it out, put all the food there, because it's a great height, it's up above dogs' noses, and then have a lovely spread, and then I put it back in the bushes afterwards.
Is it still there, or has it been stolen?
Yeah, no, it is still there. Amazingly, it's still there, which probably it's not a very flash table, but it does the job,
Do you meet outside of the dog park?
Yeah, we do sometimes. Yeah, it was lovely when COVID happened last March, wasn't it? Yeah, end of March, and so lockdown, can't go to the dog park, and so we had virtual dog park meetings. We'd have Zoom once a week. A bunch of us, half a dozen of us, the hardcore, we'd get on Zoom. And there's a dog and the dog. We're a bunch of softies, I know, but we do, and we catch up sometimes at various functions, or middle of winter, some mornings to have a dog park breakfast is now getting a bit of a test for some of us. So we think, instead of having a breakfast at the dog park, let's have a wine after work in a nice wine bar in Brooklyn. So we've done that as well. So.
Do you allow new entrants?
Yeah, of course, we're very open, and I know people probably will say, a bunch of snobs, standing around talking to each other. But of course, it's great because some of the dogs have died that have been in the group, and I hate losing contact with those people. But by the same token, that's just what happens. People shift and move on to other dog parks if they go to live somewhere else, and new people come in and fill gaps. So it's great.
They're not intimidated by all of this tenure
probably
of
a little
relation.
bit at the start, but I go out of my way to be really, to go up to people and ask them what their dog's name is. So yeah.
Don't tell me your own name, but I'd love to know your dog's name.
Yeah.
How did people like Barbara and Jeremy and Jenny and Matthew? I mean, did you talk to them about writing this book? Did you discuss it with them?
At a later stage. So what happened with this is I started going to the dog park and all these amazing people and all these amazing stories, and I just started making notes. And at that stage I was working for North and South magazine, and after about 6 months of owning the dog, I said to my editor, look, I'd like to write a feature about the dog park and some of the fun things that go on there. And she said, great. So I did that, and I just kept collecting stories. I'd go home from the dog park and I'd just take a note of these bizarre and wonderful and funny things that had happened. And then I thought, there's probably a decent book in this. So after a year, I pitched this book. I hope there's... I will tell the story. Some of you will know there's a series that Our Press puts out called How To. It's like how to look at a painting, how to write a hit song. It's what they call the Ginger series that they put out. And I thought, this would be perfect for this, how to walk a dog. And so I wrote this proposal and I sent in this story that I'd done for North and South to this publisher in Wellington, Our Press. And I got a letter back saying, thank you for your letter, but I think everyone knows how to walk a dog. I thought, you're missing the point. So in the end, I thought, oh, bugger it, I'll carry on. And then, about 8 years went by and I collected a whole lot of notes and I thought, crikey, Cooper's getting on a bit. If I'm going to do this book, I'd better write it. And so I did some sample chapters, sent it to another publisher who wanted it, and at that stage, when the publisher had said, yep, we're really keen, then I talked to the main people at the dog park, let them know, and I asked, there's some quite personal things in this book, and I absolutely talked to them about that and showed them the people the copy and those very sensitive bits to make sure that they were comfortable with it.
What was their reaction when you said, I'm going to write a book? I've written this book and it's going to be published.
Oh, probably well-mannered trepidation. They said, oh, okay, great. Thinking, geez, what have I done over the last 10 years that he's going to put in the book? But yeah, everyone's really supportive and everyone's loved it, and I've still got all my friends at the dog park, so yeah.
Well, it's a hell of a change from your first book, Who's Killed Scott Guy. That was a case that, as you said, was, that captured a nation in the book. And you also, a hell of a difference from your long-form writing, that you've written about some very serious issues. So can we take a look at that book, if we can? When did you become involved in that case against, the Crown versus Ewan MacDonald for killing Scott Guy? Yeah,
so this is a case, most of you will remember this. This is Scott Guy, a fielding farmer who was killed in 2010, shot at the entrance to his home. He's a dairy farmer, and his killing was they couldn't find the culprit for a good 6 months, and then lo and behold, the man they arrested was his brother-in-law who lived a couple of kilometres down the road, Ewan MacDonald, and so this story had already by this stage gripped the nation. Everyone was fascinated by it, and that was just heightened when someone in the family is arrested for the murder. At that stage, someone said, and the lawyer who, so the guy Ewan MacDonald who's accused of murder, taken into the cells through a weird situation. Ewan MacDonald's brother is a top detective in Wellington. Okay, very awkward situation. So Ewan MacDonald's brother finds out his brother has been accused of murder, thinks, shit, who have I been in court with? What lawyers have I seen in court who are really good? I've seen a guy called Greg King, who's was one of the greatest lawyers, rings up Greg King first thing in the morning and says, "My brother's been accused of murder. Can you represent him?" Greg's driving somewhere saying, "Look, I'm just too busy. I can't do it, mate." And then 5 minutes later thinks, "Yeah, I've got to do this." Rings the detective back and says, "Yeah, I'll do it." Turns his car around, drives up to Palmerston North. So I knew Greg King, the lawyer. I'd done a profile when he was a young lawyer, and someone said to me, "You should do this case." And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll look at it. Because so much media had been already written about the Scott Guy's murder. And I thought, what else is there to write? But then I thought, look, I know the lawyer, and I said to him, "Can I spend a year with you covering the defence case of what seems like an unwinnable case?" Everyone assumed Ewan MacDonald was automatically guilty. And luckily, the family of Ewan MacDonald agreed to spend time with me and speak with me in the run-up to that trial. And so that's how I came to be involved with it. Then I covered the case, which was the trial, which was about a 5-week trial in Wellington. And
Were you still working for North and South at that time? So you were still having to do the other work, producing your other long form,
but I was writing for North and South about this case. I wrote a long feature about the case after the trial concluded, and then a publisher approached us and said,
well, Greg King actually suggested you should write a book, I think.
Yeah, Greg always did, it's one of it's really sad that people know that Greg King committed suicide not long afterwards, and it's real sadness that Greg never got to see the book. He got to see the story, but never the book.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. Did the publishers approach you, or did you go to Allen and Unwin?
No, another publisher approached us. That unfortunately fell over, and then Allen and Unwin came in and picked it up. And and it was, but a lot of it was already written by the time that Allen and Unwin came along. So but it's a lot of work. Writing a book's quite hard, Everyone thinks it's just writing, isn't it? It's really a lot of hard work. And my poor partner, I was using up all our weekends. Actually, I think in the dedication of that book, I say that I owe her a summer. because it was, And when you're writing about something grim like a murder case, it's not a lot of fun, Oh, tell me, what are you writing about in this chapter, dear? Yeah, more murder, great, yeah.
Your strength has always been long-form writing. You've won just about every single award in New Zealand for that. But how different was processing a book, writing a book? You said it was incredibly difficult. But did it require a different sort of mindset for you from what other types of writing you'd done?
No, I don't think so. It's just on a bigger scale. It's just it's this long form writing. Like now I work for Stuff, and I do the same things as I did at North and South, writing long stories. It's the same kind of storytelling. It's the same trying to somehow hook your audience, your reader in at the start, and keep them reading right to the end of a long story when they've got other things to do and other things in their lives and other things on telly and whatever. So a book's a bit like that, but just on a longer scale. It's an expanded version of it, but you have to deal with it in chapters. In the same way that when you write a long story, you often deal with it sort of in chapters. It's exactly the same for a book, but they are really chapters. You're looking at a different aspect, but each chapter has to be a really grunty and it's something that hooks people in and interests them and carries them through.
What sort of word count would you be talking in a long-form story?
For the paper?
Yeah, for the magazine, for North and
South. Probably doesn't mean anything to people, but North and South story might have averaged 4,000 or 5,000 words. The longest stories I did were... 4,000 or 5,000 words might mean 10 pages in a magazine. The longest stories I did were about 13,000 words, which are anything up to 20 pages in a magazine.
So there's a big difference when you get into a book that's up to like 100,000.
Yeah, I think the Scott Guy book was 80,000, 90,000 in the end, yeah. So, but it's just, there's a lot in that case to write about. It wasn't like I was short of material and was trying to pad it. Was
it hard actually to differentiate what you were going to leave out and what you were going to include? No,
it worked out pretty well to the word count actually. Yeah. I just, you can go on forever about these things, but I thought it was about right.
Media obsession was with the case, so how did that impact what you were writing? And the fact that you were involved with the defence team, did it have an impact?
Well, I was probably one of the only people that thought that Ewan MacDonald didn't do it, which made me quite rare. But I sat through, well, other than the jury, they didn't think he did it either, or they could have done. I thought I had a different angle on it. I thought I had an objective angle. I didn't go in there to kind of say that, you know, this guy's innocent. That was never the intention of the book. I just wanted to provide a different perspective. You know, when cops arrest people, I'm like everyone, think, well, they've got a good reason to do that, haven't they? They've done their homework, they've investigated this for months. But there's sometimes, and most of the time, they're right. But sometimes maybe there's a few questions, and I think we're allowed to ask those questions, and I think that's exactly what journalists should be doing. It's the great old thing of holding the system to account. Well, I think that's really important because, you know, come on, we're not going to get it right all the time. There's quite a few people that have ended up in prison wrongly, and I think those questions should be allowed to be asked without anyone getting their back up. Did
you have to go through a lot of legals before the book was published? Was that a mammoth task?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. It did. Some things were taken out, and some things are line calls. And I'll admit, I think I made a mistake in that book about putting one thing in there. I'm not going to. It's not of great consequence, no. But I named someone who I don't think I should have. I don't think. I look back, and in the reprints, I've taken the name out. So you know, it's not perfect, but yeah.
Can I, with that whole editing process that you just brought up there, some things were taken out, and things. How difficult is that as a writer? I mean, you must have had the same with How to Walk a Dog, that the publishers or the editing team says, nah, that's a bit naff, or can you expand on something? Is that difficult for you as a writer? I mean, was there much in this book?
With the Scott Guy book, there was one suggestion of rearranging it, and they were absolutely right. With the dog book, there was an editor who made a lot of picky little comments that I thought, this is just rubbish, and got my back up a bit, but, that was just pathetic ego, really, wasn't it? And look, when you stand back, most of the time, when you've spent so long writing a book, which can be months or years, you can't see the wood for the trees. No. You need fresh eyes on it, and they're usually right. 95% of the time, they're right. So you just got to swallow it and say, yeah, okay.
Did you do many edits on How to Walk a Dog?
No. It was the easiest, nicest thing I've had to write.
It must have been cathartic after everything else you've done.
Oh, it was a nice break from murder, Tess. It was, and it was just joyful writing.
Yeah.
Writing about dogs and about lovely people. I mean, there's sad bits in it. There's tough bits. But by the same token, it pretty much sailed through. And it came to the word length that had been suggested by the publisher, yeah.
Can we just take a break now, maybe do a bit of a reading from the book? And we talked about this earlier, and you can sort of explain. It was a reading that I sort of asked Mike to read.
Oh, quickly, look at this dog. He's got 4 legs. His name's Hobbs. And this is a passage about Hobbs. Hobbs is my dog Cooper's best mate. They met at a dog park, at our dog park, when Cooper knocked over Hobbs' owner. Sat her right on her ass, and I had to go up and apologise. But since then, we've become the best of friends. And Cooper, our dog, is actually staying with Hobbs right now. These 2 old boys that are now nearly 12. I just got a text from one of Hobbs' owners saying that these old boys at midnight last night, one of them was barking in the lounge reaching out for his favourite toy, and Cooper was standing beside him with his favourite toy. So, the old boys, go for a sleepover and they're up all night telling jokes. It's absolutely shocking. But anyway, so Hobbs used to come and stay with us a lot. I work from home, and we live by the sea. We've got a little... my little office is at the front. I look out to the beach. We've got a little deck out the front. The dogs always lie on the front. There's a gate this high. over the gate, pavement, road, beach. Okay, and so what happened, geez, I've caught myself up in knots here, haven't I? So what happened one day is that Hobbs looked across the road at the beach, saw another dog that he knew, someone with a ball thrower. That was like crack to Hobbs, someone with a ball thrower. Hobbs bolted over our gate, and I'm on my phone, and I see this dog's backside disappear over the gate and disappear out onto the road. And yeah, the worst happened. Just at that moment, a car came along and hit Hobbs, crunched him right here on his front shoulder. While I'm forever thankful that I was spared the sound of the impact, I've never been able to stop recalling that sickening first sight of him sprawled across the road on his side. All I could think of was, oh God, he's not moving. If he's not dead, he will be soon. And I'm going to have to watch him gasp his last few breaths. When I reached Hobbs, he was whimpering with piss coming out of his rear end and blood coming from his mouth, staining the asphalt. The car that had hit him was backing up and people were getting out. The driver and passenger, two guys in their 20s with cropped hair, jogged up and said, oh, sorry, so sorry, man. The dog just raced out in front of me. We didn't have a chance to stop. And it's true. Hobbs had cut out from between parked cars and gave them no chance to brake in time. It wasn't their fault. But at that moment, I couldn't spend much time reassuring them. Swamped with shock and deserted by the calm decision-making required in such circumstances, I instantly bent down, picked up Hobbs as he tried to rear up and moaned loudly. When the car's passenger offered to help, Hobbs rounded on him and tried to bite him. As I stood there in the middle of the road with the dying dog in my arms, my mind whirled about what to do. I knew I needed to get him to a vet immediately if he was going to have any chance, but how? I went to put him in our car, but the door was locked, so I asked the other car's passenger to get the keys out of my pocket, but when he did this, he couldn't work out how to unlock the damn door. So I desperately asked them if they could take me to the vet, but they said, oh, sorry, mate, we've got kids, we have to be somewhere. And then an angel arrived. I use that word reluctantly, given I have no belief in fate or the supernatural, but there's little other way to describe her and the remarkable timing of her intercession. Her name was Monique, a detail I didn't discover till later as we raced to the vet. All I knew at that instant was, as I stood cradling a fast-fading Hobbs and wondering what to do, a woman appeared over my shoulder. I'm an SPCA nurse. Can I help you? I still have no idea where she was going or what she thought was going on. Whatever her plans were, she abandoned them and became the answer to my panicking quandary. She said she could take us to the vet, so I jumped into the car with Hobbs. Hobbs was breathing rapidly and Monique said he needed pain relief. Which vet do you want to go to, she asked. Island Bay's vet was closest, and Monique said we could go to the SPCA in Newtown where she worked, which wasn't too much further, but I decided to head to the Central Vet Clinic about 6 kilometres away at the bottom of Brooklyn Hill, because that's where Hobbs went, and they called themselves a hospital. Looking back, I wonder why I didn't take up Monique's suggestion to go to the SPCA, where they were well set up for emergencies and she could have directed everything. But at the time I was just focused on getting Hobbs to his regular vet for some reason. A reasonably non-vital fixation that gives me concern for my decision-making ability should I ever be in, say, a plane crash or a high-rise inferno or a terrorist attack in a shopping mall. Monique had only been living in Wellington for 3 weeks and had no idea where she was going. I said, just drive, I'll tell you where to go. Shall we go fast, she asked? Yes, I said. So all up Happy Valley in O'Hara Road, we sped past cars and I hoped they understood it was an emergency and wouldn't star 5-5 us. On the way down Brooklyn Hill, we got stuck behind a slow ute and the driver obviously thought we were being bogan wankers, so he braked and we almost rear-ended him, forcing us to pull back and fret. Along the way, I'd managed to pull my phone out and ring Jan, one of Hobbs's owners, who had, as it happened, had just sat down to lunch with Briar. I told her briefly what had happened and where we were going. Oh my God, she said, and told me she'd be there as soon as she could. At the vet clinic, Monique and I swung into the parking space and 2 nurses inside looked up from reception counter to see Hobbs in my arms and me motioning for them to open the doors. They pointed me down a corridor and into a room and I laid Hobbs on a stainless steel table. Everyone else was calm. I was sick. A vet arrived and started checking Hobbs over, and then they shaved a patch of fur off his front leg, put in an intravenous line for pain relief and fluids. The colour around his gums was pallid. As I stood beside the cold steel table, I imagined my face was equally drained of colour. Jan arrived and tearfully crept up the corridor to join us. Is he all right? Hobbs was all right. Hobbs survived. He lost a leg, but a remarkable resilience dogs. And look, the car hits him here. 6 inches this way, it would have got his head, he would have died. 6 inches that way would have gone through his rib cage and got his organs inside, and he would have been dead. But for the last 10 years, he's been a tripod. This amazing dog with the back leg slightly splayed, the front leg out in the middle, and what a dog, cool dog. Yeah, so happy endings.
You've talked earlier about they're not always happy endings, and dogs, I mean, it's one of the great tragedies in life, isn't it, that the dogs don't have this huge lifespan. I don't think anybody who's never owned a dog can understand what it is to lose a dog. Would you agree?
Yeah. Look. We don't have children. I don't know what it'll be like to lose a child. But all I know is having dogs and the gap that it leaves. It's vast, and of course everyone's different. Everyone has a different relationship with their dogs. But Cooper's. That's when he's less than 1. He's nearly 12 now. I know the numbers game, and I just dread what's coming ahead, but that's the deal. That's the contract. Whenever you pick up that cute little puppy, you know that some stage in the future that there's going to be a day where you're going to have to make a decision, or a decision's going to be made for you. So what do? Do you save yourself the heartache because you can't face what might happen eventually? I'm not prepared to do that. The extraordinary joy that a dog brings to your life, is always going to have a sad ending, but it's going to be brilliant before then.
I've read, and I don't know where I've read this, it might have actually been from one of the books that I've read for the book festival, but some kid asks about why do dogs live so short? And another person says, it's because when we come into the world, we have to learn to love and live and give faith and be faithful, whereas dogs arrive knowing all those things. So we spend half our life learning those, dogs come with those. I thought that was just the most beautiful analogy.
Yeah, it is. I'll try and remember that in a few years' time, where I'm facing that inevitable decision. And I've seen in the years since I've been going to this dog park, I've seen people having to make those decisions, and I've seen the way that some people react in getting another dog straight away to fill that gap, and other people just saying no and waiting, and it can be years, and some haven't yet, because it's just they can't quite feel, they never feel that it's the right time to replace that dog. Yeah.
One of the loveliest comments, which is in the book, and it's regarding the passing of a dog, it comes from Graham Sidney, the artist, this really resonated with me. Quote, "It's a quieter house, noticeably so, even though Milo scarcely uttered a sound in his mature years. But presence has sound, the sounds of company, and you know too well when it's gone." Yeah, I just thought that was the best way of summing it up. It's a
brilliant quote. It was just from Graham in an email when his dog, he had 2 dogs die in reasonably quick succession, and Sir Graham Sidney got knighted just recently. Talented bugger. God, he can paint and he can write beautifully as well. But that's just an email, and I just thought, that sums things up.
Yeah, it does. Okay, let's get on to more joyful notes. Okay. Do dogs start to look like their owners? Or do owners start to look like their dogs?
One of the great questions of our time, Tess.
Yes, No, I mean, I've thought about it a lot.
I kind of think, well, if they don't look like them, I reckon they do take on characteristics and personalities of their owners. I don't think it's just coincidence that a lot of dogs and a lot of owners are very similar. I don't know quite about looks, but, well, yeah.
What you mean in personalities? You can see, a person who's like super, like almost ADD kind of thing.
Or
They would
anxious, or
they'll get
like
a dog
that. Absolutely. Maybe
Is that
I'm
nurture or
reading too
nature?
much into
Is
it.
that the person passing on their own?
I don't know. Maybe it's just me anthropomorphizing a whole lot of, normal dog characteristics and reading things into it. I don't know. I kind of look at Cooper and think, yeah, there's a bit of you, a bit of me and you, kind of, a lot of bad habits. I don't know. I don't know about looking like. Although you do sometimes meet those ones where the owners and the people the owners and the dogs just look made for each other, don't they? You just think, yeah, crikey, what happened?
I think the funniest thing I've ever seen, I was at the vet centre just a couple of years ago, and this guy walked in, it was summer, he'd on stubbies and boots and a wife-beater singlet, and it was short, very, very solid, tats all over him. And he walked in and I was bathing the dog, and I thought, he's going to come out with a bulldog or a Rottweiler. Or, I was assuming that he came out with a Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I just lost the plot. I almost actually had to put my head into the bath because it just did not commute with what I'd been thinking.
I know, yeah. One of the favourite photos that I've ever taken was down at Wanaka, and this guy is really tough, hard-as guy, walking along the waterfront there with these two tiny little things that, honestly, are marginally bigger than some of the rats that we catch in the bush up the back of our place, and trotting along either side of them, and you think, oh, that's just wonderful, isn't it? That just blows all those.
Have you taken a photo of that?
Yeah, I did. I've got a great photo of it. So, yeah, all the stereotypes go out the window at those days.
You've done such a lot with Cooper. I mean, you tramped with him and you know, lots of things. I was fascinated by the story about going tramping and the Kiwi.
Kiwi immersion training.
Yes, please tell us about that.
So certain areas you go into, you have to have a certificate that says your dog's gone through a training course for Kiwi immersion, which basically means your dog isn't going to chase off after Kiwi. And so how they do this is that you go out to a place and there's this pretty laconic trainer called Jim Pottinger, and he straps on an evil device around your dog's neck called a shock collar. And before you all start going, ooh, it's amazing how it works. So he's got a loop, and he's got half a dozen carcasses or things that look like Kiwi carcasses with Kiwi scent on them, and he's got other ones where Kiwis pop up with a tape recorder playing Kiwi noises beside him. And so your dog trots off, and so Cooper's there happily going through the bush, sees the first Kiwi, goes over to it, sniff, and Jim has got the controller on the shock collar and goes, that. And Cooper just went, bang, yelps, leaps backwards. And you think, oh, yeah, okay. Next Kiwi he comes along to, he edges up and doesn't go right up to it, and Jim just gives him a little tingle on the shock collar, and Cooper jumps back. The rest of that circuit, every time Cooper came to a Kiwi, he did this amazing big D around it, went nowhere near it. And you might think, oh, this is a cruel thing to do. I rationalise this and think, this is 2 seconds of discomfort with a dog. It is not long lasting. And he is cured for life of wanting to go anywhere near a Kiwi. Cooper in his dreams probably thinks that the laser Kiwi actually exists. He probably thinks the Kiwis, zap him. Because we go back every year or two, you go back for retraining, and Jim will put the collar on the dog and he'll lead them around that course, and Cooper will not go anywhere near those Kiwi carcasses, even 2 years. I mean, we've been going now for, the best part of 10 years with them. Won't go anywhere near it. It's imprinted on their brain.
But that's given you this beautiful ability to take him into the bush and everything else, which you couldn't have done if you hadn't.
Just confidence. If only I could do that with cats. Here's, Cooper will not go near any other animal, ducks, chooks, things that are much easier to catch. But cats, bring it on. Yeah, here's a shocker.
You see, you've passed this on about Josie. He's absorbed your dislike of furry cats.
That's a possibility, Tess.
Yep.
Yes.
Are there bad dogs, bad breeds, or are they just bad owners?
I don't know. There's heaps of bad owners.
Can you define that? What in your mind is a bad owner?
Owners that don't look after their dogs. Owners that don't treat dogs as, as just sentient beings. Owners that are cruel to their dogs. Owners that consider dogs as an impediment. People that shouldn't own dogs, or that own dogs for the wrong reasons, like because I want to scare people away from coming in, people that don't give a dog a chance to have a decent life. And so, of course, if dogs are treated badly, they might react badly. Don't get me onto whether pit bulls should be allowed or shouldn't be allowed. For every time you say, they're terrible and look what they did, they ripped someone to pieces, which happened, I think, last week, someone got attacked. Someone will say, I've got the loveliest pit bull in the world and my kids roll around on the floor with it. I don't know. Put it this way, I wouldn't ever own a pit bull myself. But I think, my dog's had a really good life, I like to think. Tessa's dogs have had amazing lives. Not all dogs are that lucky.
Training, how important is that to you in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's really important just to, even though I'm probably the worst example of a great dog trainer, I think it's really important just to get the basics. So what are the basics that you need your dog to do? Well, sit's good, wait is really good. Come is excellent, because a dog at a dog park that's having a lot of fun ain't going to come back to you unless you've got some kind of control over it. And I've spent a lot of time catching people's dogs at dog parks that just don't want to go home. If you can just get those basic things, your life's going to be a whole lot easier. And there's the whole theory of it reinforces who's in control in this relationship. Well, as I say, that's kind of
debatable.
Dwindled and eroded badly in our situation. But those basic, I would absolutely, everyone should take their dog to a dog obedience class or something like that, because I think it will just make everyone's life a lot easier and a lot happier. Heel, that's a really good one. I'm really good at that. Yeah, run dogs.
I can't even make Ross heel, so how am I going to do with the dog?
Yeah, I'm not. I know Kip's all right at that. But those are just those basic things, and it's just establishing that relationship. Yeah.
What's the worst experience you've ever had walking Cooper?
I don't know, not too many. He's never attacked anyone, anything. No, he's been pretty compliant. I mean, the worst experience is when the courier driver left the gate open when he was a puppy, and he and his mate Hobbs escaped down the road, and I went out the front looking for them. And I see them 100 yards down the road, and it's quite a busy road past our place, and they're youngish dogs, and so I'm left with this decision: what do I do? If I run off after them, they'll probably think it's a game and bugger off. So I called them and spent that 10 seconds of them running back with my heart in my mouth, thinking, are they going to run out onto the road, or are they going to stick along the footpath? But no, I'll probably think of the really bad ones afterwards. I've just blotted them out of my mind, obviously, at the moment. But no,
you had a bad experience, not so much with Cooper, but with, was it Lily? You killed Lily?
I killed Lily. Oh.
This is the responsible dog owner.
I shouldn't read that. But anyway, I'll quickly tell the story. So we're out I'm walking Hobbs and Cooper out up the Kapiti coast on a beach there, and throwing sticks, and I found this really good stick. So it's quite long and it's quite heavy at one end, and that way you can get real heft, put it into the waves. And so I'm throwing the stick for Cooper, and pretty much like that. He's down at the beach having the best time of his life, and I wind up, and this other dog comes up, a black spaniel, and it's wanting to play around, and Cooper's not interested in playing with it. And so I'm going, nice dog. And then I wind up to lift this stick, and I just feel this kind of plunk on the backswing. And I look round, and there's Lily lying dead on the beach behind me. And Lily's owners had passed us up the road, up the beach a bit before. And they turn around and they see Lily lying dead beside me, and they double back and they say, "What's happened?" Now, I know what's happened. I've put two and two together. And as I'm kneeling down beside Lily, I'm caught with this decision. Do I tell them the truth about how it was an unfortunate accident and I've just clubbed their dog to death inadvertently? Or do I lie and say, I've got no idea? And in that moment of trying to make that decision in my head, Lily gasped beside us. And I'm hoping that this isn't just a death throw, the last spasm of Lily on the beach beside me. And as I'm watching her, Lily kind of lifts her head and pops up and toddles off down the beach again. And thank God she was just knocked unconscious and they hadn't killed her.
I can just imagine that.
The relief. I don't know what I said to the owners or what they said to me after that. I was just absolutely a flood of whatever they are, endorphins of relief or whatever, overwhelmed me. Yeah.
It's a great story, mate. Before we go into questions, you've actually done the reading of How to Walk a Dog. You've done the audio
for Radio New Zealand. Yeah, that was
How
lovely.
was that? Because that's a completely different skill
Yeah,
set.
I don't know whether I mastered it, but it was fun. It was great. So Radio New Zealand gets books and gets people to, abridge them, which means you chop it down, but you read it in 10 chapters. I mean, I'll be completely honest that it may not have been the quality of the book. I don't think it was that got me picked, but it's also the producer of Catherine Ryan's program on, 9 to noon in the morning, comes to the dog park sometimes.
You didn't need to tell us
at
that.
the bottom
We
of the
would
dog
have
park.
known.
It's Claire Zerani, and who used to have one of the most badly behaved dogs in Wellington. Fantastic little bugger who was always running away. And there's I like to think it's one of the funniest dog stories that I've come across. A brilliant story about when her dog runs into a stranger's house through the cat flap while he's chasing that person's cat, and the process they went to try and get their dog out of the stranger's house. Good yarn. But anyway, so that's how that came about. But it was fun. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Oh, Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure, but we've got a few minutes left for questions, so I can't see terribly well out here, but has anybody got a question?
Someone over there.
Oh, yes.
John.
Yeah, your book is beautifully illustrated by Sharon.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I wonder how much direction or what kind of brief you gave to Sharon.
Yeah, I don't know if people know Sharon. She's appearing tomorrow at a session. She's a cartoonist for Stuff. Her cartoons will appear in the Dominion Post and the Sunday Star Times. Just the most incredibly talented cartoonist, but someone who loves dogs and cats. She also does, if you read the Dominion Post, she draws next to the crossword, there's Munro, the little cat. So Sharon's got a couple of cats and a dog. And the dog, Cooper, somehow doesn't even get on the cover. This is pretty much Sharon's dog on the cover. Sore point, says Cooper. But the cartoons are brilliant. John, she had no brief. Sharon's not one, I don't think, to be given briefs. And I didn't want to give her a brief. I was just thrilled that she agreed to illustrate it.
So did she read the script?
No. I might have sent her some chapters, but I don't think she read them. No.
Oh, so they're not related to the chapters?
No, that's wrong. They are. No, some of them are. She must have read some of the chapters, but I mean, Sharon is just a genius, and the cartoons they blew me away. And they add to the book immensely, I think.
I think the lovely thing about the cartoons is it's generic rather than having photos of dogs. You know, like it could be any dog because it's a cartoon.
When we were thinking of how to present the book, I didn't want photos. I mean, sure, you can have lots of lovely photos of your dog, but we just thought that somehow cartoons or illustrations would be better. And what Sharon came up with they're just brilliant.
Yeah.
Sharon sees the world in a wonderful and different way to what most people do, and she's
actually got a session here
so
tomorrow.
If any of you have a
available?
chance to go and see Sharon tomorrow,
there are some seats available for that tomorrow. With
that's
Sharon.
Tomorrow morning. She's just a genius. So,
are there any other questions? Yes.
Thanks, Mike. What do you think Cooper might have taught you about life, or at least living life with Cooper?
I think the same thing that probably every dog teaches people. Just pure joy for every day. Every day, get up, stretch, and wag your tail and think, yay, what's happening today? And just to joy in the simplest things that they do every day. You know, it doesn't matter if they go for the same walk around the same block every day. They'll still find joy in that. And just the simplicity of life for a dog is reasonably structured. Most of our dogs, it's reasonably ordered, but there's the same amount of joy every day. And Susie, I still every day get reminded of that by watching dogs, and they go. Oh, there's this one. Oh, bugger! I should have bought this quote. There's this fabulous quote. Look it up online to get the real version. It's by Charles Schulz, the guy that did Peanuts cartoon strip. It's something like, he tried his best every day to be as good as he could, but often he failed, for after all, he wasn't a dog. And I've got that up on my wall. It's my favourite dog quote, and I've got a few. And I just kind of think, there was a great... quite a few years ago, there was an ad campaign, again, if you go home and YouTube it, an ad campaign for a British company, O2 Oxygen or something like that, and the name of the campaign was "Be More Dog," and it was about a cat and looking at the dog and the cat thinking, "Hey, dogs have much better fun," and I just think that's a great phrase. Be more dog. I mean, dogs don't ask for much. Their loyalty is never ending. I'd like to be a bit more dog.
Any other questions? Yes.
Dogs and vocabulary. You know, how many words do you think Cooper knows? And
He.
related to food.
I think we like to think he knows more words than he does. Because often, you know, you can say a word and a dog will respond. You think, oh, smart dog. But he's responding to your emotion, your reaction, the way you've phrased it, kind of. How many words Cooper know? He does. I'm pretty sure he'll know. Well, he knows the basics of sit, stay, come, wait, heel. Whether he does them is an entirely different matter, but he knows them. He knows what he's meant to do. He knows. He does know walk, I think, and he knows. I'm positive he knows Hobbes's name, and that's just a sign that. So this is at a beach just along from us in Island Bay. That's at one end of the park, and in a few minutes you'll see what was at the other end of the park. So I don't know how many words he knows. He knows Cooper. God, I hope he knows Cooper. But I don't think he knows Mike, and my partner's name Nikki. I'm not sure. But
yeah, I could never say walk to my dog. I had to spell it out.
Yeah.
When he was around, because he'd go crazy.
Yeah, I'm the same. WALK. Shall we do one of those?
And I had to keep adjusting because he kept learning.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Cooper's the smartest dog in the world. sometimes I think he's really clever, and then other times I think, really, mate, what's going on? So we've got the front. So pretend that Tess and I are sitting in our lounge, and there's a sliding door that goes into a front room, which is kind of like a sunroom. And then on the right-hand side, there's another door that opens back into into a bedroom. So Cooper will go out one door. One door's open, one door's closed. He will go out through there into the front room, come along to the sliding doors, which are glass, and stare back through it as going, I don't know how to get back in. Well, turn around and walk back where you came. And he's never got this. So at times like that, I think, oh, no. So, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, Mike. It's just been an absolute pleasure and lovely to have some light-hearted thing. This is a great book. There is copies for sale out there, and Mike will be available to sign them for you. So thanks, Mike.
Thanks for coming along.
Yeah,
really
thank
lovely.
you. I want to see what's the next one.
That was Mike White speaking to Tessa Nicholson at the 2021 Marlborough Book Festival. A big thanks to all the writers that have supported the festival, as well as the audiences that attended in person or listened online. If you'd like to learn more about the event, head over to marlboroughbookfest.co.nz. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe and tell a friend. Thanks for listening.